Hey there and welcome back to XCOM. My name is Pete and today we complete another episode of our XCOM Enemy Within Ironman Impossible walkthrough, an episode that will very likely feature another EXALT mission. In the last video we completed the Furies mission as part of Operation Progeny. We rescued 3 potentially gifted captives from the aliens, and so our list of XCOM personnel continues to grow. This of course presents the challenge to give all of them enough opportunities on the battlefield to advance their skills, so in the future our squad composition might be a bit more fluctuating than it has been in the past. Now, before we start scanning today, we will quickly make a stop in engineering to purchase 3 new Firestorms. Yes, we already have 1 on every continent, but 1 alone will probably not always be enough, and we are slowly getting to a point where the regular interceptors will be of very limited use, so the plan is to have at least 2 Firestorms on every continent and then perhaps get rid of the interceptors altogether. At this point we can more than afford the 200 credits it will cost us to purchase 3 more, so let's get those in production and then start scanning. Alright, here we are. Our next mission is in fact going to be another EXALT mission, but we're actually not going to start it just yet. You can see here we still have 2 projects in the Foundry that should complete any second now, so let's keep scanning for a moment longer. Alright, that completes the improved arc thrower, providing us with improved capture chances. Admittedly, that's not really useful for this type of mission, unlike the next project however. Here we now have the completion of the Improved Pistol 3 project, which improves the damage output of all of our pistols by 1 point, and considering that we have a covert operative on this mission equipped with nothing else but a pistol, this project right here might come at just the right time. Now, unlocking the heavy plasma is also right around the corner, but I think waiting for that as well is a bit too risky, so let us instead start the mission.
We are confident that you will handle this matter with discretion.
Now, our squad will actually remain the same for this mission. We are still looking to get that final promotion for our Assault Luisa Santoso, and our Psionic Heavy Kim Lupai should probably also climb the ranks as quickly as possible. Since we're not facing any aliens on this mission, we are making a quick change to Adam's loadout however, simply switching the arc thrower for a scope for a bit more accuracy. And yes, Adam is normally a bit more of a close-range fighter, but as long as he's carrying the plasma rifle anyway, some versatility can't hurt.
Our operative was in position to transmit the data they'd acquired when EXALT forces moved into their AO. The encoder is currently shielding our transmitter's position, but if EXALT manages to hack the encoder, they'll be able to locate the transmitter. If they hack both, any hope we had of recovering the data intact will be lost. Objective updated.
Alright, and here we are on the roof of a building still under construction. I'm not quite sure, but I think we have seen this map before in this playthrough. In any case, it doesn't offer a lot of space, so we'll probably run into the first group of enemies very soon.
Affirmative, moving out.
Adam's first scouting trip does not reveal any hostiles though, so we can safely move the rest of our squad up to his position, and we are using dashes for this because the encoder we have to protect is pretty far away, and we want to get there as quickly as possible to prevent EXALT from hacking it. EXALT's turn then comes and goes and we still don't spot any enemies, so let's dash Adam up into full cover next to the encoder. And there we are, lying in wait right next to the encoder. We have our first trio of EXALT agents. For now though, they haven't seen us yet, so let's keep it that way. They will more than likely make a move on the next turn anyway, so we're setting up a few overwatches here to ideally catch them off guard. And here we go, we have movement and consequently we also have reaction fire. It's just a pistol overwatch from Rosilius, but he does a decent amount of damage, and it turns out that Adam's position was also wisely chosen, as EXALT's advances now trigger his close combat specialist. Adam does some damage as well, and Emilia also gets off a reaction shot, but her laser beam sadly goes wide.
Someone is attempting to access the encoder, Commander. We can't allow EXALT to hack that equipment or they're going to locate the transmitter.
Right, so now we have EXALT in the process of hacking the encoder. It will take them 3 turns to do that, however, and I don't think they will survive that long. Now, since only one of the enemies here has full health and we ideally want to get Kim a few more kills, let's try to soften that target up And for that we're using Emilia, who has a decent chance to hit.
Adjusting sights.
Okay, for the second straight time she cannot find the target. Let's see if our covert operative Annette has a bit more luck with the plasma pistol.
I'm still learning.
Right, off again, which is admittedly not too surprising, so I guess we have to send Adam around the back now.
Roger, tracking. Time to kick this sucker off.
Okay, so I think it's safe to say that this is bad. We have already spent more than 1/3 of our turn here and now discovered a second group of EXALT agents. And not only that, they're all pretty far away and they all have height advantage. Still, after a bit of planning, I think I have come up with an approach that should hopefully work, and it builds upon the fact that we have thankfully not yet moved any of our heavies. So we are starting things off here with a rocket from Andrea, which will be step number 1 in removing that second group of hostiles.
Hoorah!
Now the problem is that the EXALT Elite Heavy on the right did not take quite as much damage as advertised, so the second rocket from our other Heavy Kim Lupai will only be enough to kill 2 of the 3.
Going hot.
This also already earns her the next promotion, and thankfully we have Resilius and his pistol nearby, and with the Heavy's cover removed, at least from this side, we should be able to get the kill here. Alright, lovely. That is this rather unpleasant surprise now dealt with. We even got Kim 2 kills in the process, even though that was hardly planned. So let us now get rid of the original group, starting with a rapid fire from Adam.
X-ray neutralized.
Okay, that brings us down to only 2 enemies, and we have no other choice but to use a grenade with Louisa here. So let's use our final move of this turn to get her a little closer and then blow up the 2 remaining enemies.
Throwing grenade.
Commander, scans indicate additional contacts approaching Strike 1's position.
Okay, so with the initial 2 groups of EXALT agents taken out, we are now in the reinforcement phase, but luckily our enemies are starting off with only 2 additional units. After dropping down, we don't have a visual on either one of them, but they shouldn't be too hard to locate. For our first move, we are going with Mr. Wargal, who is embracing a bit of a gunslinger role today, but who finds and should be able to soften up our first target. Alright, that is already his second critical hit with the pistol today. Now we shouldn't have too much trouble finishing this enemy off with a running and gunning Louisa. And there we go, enemy down, and running and gunning is how we will continue to do things, as Assault Adam Work can now move in to take out the second enemy. And there we are, all reinforcements are dealt with. Let's move the rest of our squad into overwatching positions.
It looks like EXALT deployed a series of communications relays in the area. If our operative can get close enough and access the relay using the encryption keys they acquired from EXALT's data, they should be able to temporarily disrupt the enemy's comm network.
With Annette right next to the comm relay here, we're also being informed that we could in theory use it to disrupt EXALT's communications, which would disable their weapons for 1 turn. With the bulk of the opposition already taken out, I don't think it will come to that, but let's keep the option in mind in case things get dicey once more. With Andrea in full cover, we can now activate our overwatches and see if EXALT has another wave of reinforcements prepared. That does not seem to be the case, so let us move those who just took part in the fight into position now. Our assaults, Louisa and Adam, will remain on their respective sides of the encoder and maintain some form of high ground, while Resilius also stays up on the roof and keeps the pistol out to go on overwatch.
EXALT has additional reinforcements moving on Strike 1, Commander.
At this point we then have our next drop of EXALT reinforcements, and apart from only Louisa, our entire squad immediately opens fire. Sadly though, their reaction shots are all focused on the same target, so while that EXALT agent is decimated within seconds, the other two agents can come down without a scratch, one right behind Adam and the other one next to Emilia and Annette. So once again, this should not be too much of a challenge, and let's actually try to give our covert operative Annette here a kill as well. Since she only has access to a pistol, however, we have to soften up the target first, and Emilia can take care of that. Alright, her critical hit leaves the EXALT agent with only 4 hit points, so if Annette can hit the target, she should be able to get the kill here as well.
I'm going to get you. All of you.
Wonderful, that is one enemy down, and for the other one we're now trying to give the kill to Louisa, but her hit chances are currently reduced by the agent's half cover, so let's have Adam use a grenade here to improve the odds. Okay, so apparently the EXALT agent was standing right next to an explosive container. I somehow must have missed that. Luckily though, it still leaves the enemy standing with only one single hit point, so Louisa can go with the trend and also use her pistol to go for the kill here.
Taken care of.
And that's that. Another wave of reinforcements has been taken care of, so let us put the rest of our squad on Overwatch now and see what happens. Okay, once again, absolutely nothing, but I like where everyone's at the moment, so let's simply activate one more round of Overwatches. The enemies will have to come to us at some point.
It looks like this is the last of the hostile reinforcements, Commander. We just need to hold out a little longer.
Alright, and here we are with what is already the last wave of hostiles, and this time it also seems like our reaction shots are spread out a bit more evenly. To somewhat make up for that, however, we have a grand total of 5 EXALT agents drop down, even though one of them does not survive the reaction shot from Resilius' laser rifle. This still leaves us with 4, 2 of them already injured and one of them currently hidden in the shadows. All in all, a manageable final task, I would say. For the guy in the shadows, we can move up with Louisa, and we can take a free shot here thanks to close and personal. Perhaps that is already enough.
Nailed him.
And indeed it is. That is another kill for Miss Santoso. Time to not forget about our Heavy Kim Lupai, but before she can strike, let us move Adam out of the way. With the area evacuated, we can fire a shredder rocket with Andrea, but only at the guy on the left here. The other one would not be able to survive the hit. This now puts them both at 3 hit points and also gives us a full line of sight again, but to roughly aim a rocket with Kim to hit both, that would probably not have been necessary.
Boom. Let's soften him up.
In any case, her shredder rocket is enough to eliminate both enemies, and that leaves only one more, and let's actually once again do this with the combination of Emilia and Annette. To avoid accidentally killing the enemy, we're using a grenade with Emilia, which Annette can then follow up with a close-range pistol shot.
Excellent work out there, Commander. EXALT's forces in the area have been eliminated and the transmitter is secure.
And there we are, another mission successfully completed. I think we gave a good amount of kills to all of those who still needed them, so let's return to the base and see if that resulted in any promotions.
I had my doubts, but the troops really pulled through on this one.
Okay, so Louisa remains at the rank of Major a little longer, but Kim has received a promotion to Lieutenant. And in the choice between heat ammo and rapid reaction, we are going with heat ammo here. Kim's aim is nothing spectacular and we're not really using her as an overwatching heavy, but the damage bonus against robotic enemies from heat ammo will prove useful down the line, especially considering that she can fire twice per turn with Bullet Swarm and that she can use both regular and shredder rockets. The operation report then reveals that Annette has unfortunately not received a promotion, but at least we earn 150 credits for the mission's completion, and we also know now that the EXALT base is not in France. It will now take us only 1 or 2 more missions to pin down the exact location of the EXALT base, so who knows, perhaps our next covert operation might already be the last one.
We may have finally found the purpose behind Annette's captivity, and the results are disturbing to say the least. It appears that Annette and the other unique captives are capable of amplifying the psionic abilities of others, allowing the aliens to exert mental control over a number of victims simultaneously. Unfortunately, in using Annette to attack XCOM, the resulting stress caused significant trauma to her neurotissue. She will never have this specific ability again, although she may still retain psionic aptitude.
And here we have Dr. Valen once again hinting at Annette possessing psionic abilities. I think at this point it is barely a secret that she will eventually be a psionic for us. And speaking of Annette, we actually have another small thing planned with her, because she will now receive her first gene mod. Now, I don't think we'll give her too many gene mods, her playstyle as a support doesn't really demand that, but we will give her the neural feedback brain modification. Whenever she is psionically attacked, this modification causes damage to the attacker, and the amount of damage scales up with an increasing will stat. And since Annette will eventually end up with a very high will stat, I consider this a very useful modification.
Excellent. We'll begin prepping the candidate for surgery immediately. I will notify you when the genetic modification process is completed.
And with Annette in the gene labs, we can continue scanning now. In just a day, we should finally unlock the heavy plasma. Alright, and there we are. Our researchers have completed the heavy plasma project, and this not only unlocks the heavy plasma to be used by our heavies, but 2 other interesting weapons as well. However, the heavy plasma is probably the most important of the 3. It is the highest tier of weapon that our heavies can use, and it is capable of inflicting up to 16 points of damage with a critical hit. However, apart from the heavy plasma, we have also unlocked the S.H.I.V plasma, a plasma-based armament for our heavy weapons platform that we will eventually build, I promise. Finally then, we also unlock the incredibly expensive particle cannon, the highest tier weapon for our mech troopers, and in terms of raw damage output, the most powerful main weapon in the entire game. Now, all of that and more may or may not be purchased in the next episode. Plasma weapons are certainly far from cheap. Regardless of their cost, however, we will continue down this alley, because up next we are going to research plasma snipers. In hindsight, we probably should have done that first before the heavy plasma, because the heavies we currently have in our rotation are not really relying too much on their main weapon, while our sniper Resilius could of course do a ton of damage with an even better weapon. So at this point we can now continue scanning. Let's see if we get to complete Annette's gene modification without interruption.
Excavation complete. This modification to the temporal lobe will cause massive brainwave spikes, damaging any psionic attackers.
Okay, gene modification completed, and speaking of psionic attackers, we shortly have the results of our next round of psionic testing waiting for us. The only candidate was our heavy Shaojie Zhang, so let's see if he has the gift. Alright, testing completed, let's view the results. And here we are, Shaojie is in fact also psionically gifted, which is admittedly not the biggest surprise in the world, considering that he has one of the highest will stats of our entire squad, and that the chance of being psionically gifted is directly influenced by that. Now, we will take care of him in just a second, but at this point I think we should start testing those who have already been rumored to have psionic abilities. At the forefront, of course, our support Annette. But she won't be the only one. The remaining 2 spots will be filled up by 2 of our new soldiers, the recently acquired sniper Ryan Pickles Gibbons and our assault Donna Bloodrose Hilton. We know that those 2 have in the past been captured by the aliens, and there may have been a reason for that, perhaps the exact same reason why Annette was captured as well. In 10 days we will find out more. For now we can give Shaojie his Mind Fray ability, so he can now also do some psionic damage on the battlefield, provided of course he sees some action, which I will admit has been a bit rare for him lately. But perhaps that could change in the very next episode. For today, however, I think we have reached a good point to make the cut. We could of course continue scanning at this point, and the plasma sniper rifle might unlock before we have the next mission pop up, but I feel like the discovery of another psionically gifted soldier is a good high note to end the episode on. So as always, if you enjoyed the video, then I would be very happy if you could leave a thumbs up, and if you like what I'm doing and want to support me and my channel further, then you can of course subscribe to stay up to date, or check out and maybe pledge to the Pete Complete Patreon. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you next time. Cheers.